court restricting reporting.
The Jockey Club's insistence that its hands have been tied over right for years is not quite accurate. In 1998, they received intelligence that he'd been entertaining jockeys in the south of Spain. He has a villa here in the luxury resort of Soto Grande. The jockeys were on a golf trip organised by Wright's old friend, Graham Bradley. The Jockey Club could have taken firm action then, but they didn't.
Why didn't you remove Brian Wright from racing then?
Well, by June 1998, we were aware that Brian Wright was the subject of a serious criminal investigation by the Customs and Excise. And it was...
But Mr. Foster, nobody knew about that operation other than Customs until spring 1999.
That's not my recollection. That's not my recollection. My recollection is that the police were investigating these matters from early 1997, and that it soon became apparent to them that there was another operation going on with Mr. Brian Wright of a very serious nature.
Customs have told me that you knew nothing about the investigation in 1998.
Well, my clear understanding is that we were in danger of compromising a serious criminal investigation, and I mean I can't throw any.
I think if Customs are right, and they should know it was their investigation, then you're wrong on that.
Well, I may be, but my clear recollection is that we were unable to take action against Brian Wright for fear of compromising a serious criminal investigation.
The scale of corruption Brian Wright had inflicted on racing finally emerged in court when his associates were put on trial for drug smuggling. 3 well-known jockeys had offered to stand bail. Others gave evidence in the defence of the former jockey Barry Wright, who was later acquitted. During Graham Bradley's evidence for the defence, he lifted the lid on what Brian Wright had done to racing. Bribing jockeys for inside information had been commonplace.
Let us be clear. It is not only Barry Wright who is providing this information to Brian Wright and his team. You were as well, were you not?
Yes.
Information which, let us also be quite clear, the average punter would probably give his eye teeth for.
Yes, very privileged information.
You're giving it to other people for their financial advantage.
Yes.
And in the end also for your financial advantage.
Yes.
Because when you give a good tip to someone like Brian Brendan Wright, you get a present, do you not?
Yes.
Thousands of pounds sometimes?
Not that sort of money.
What is the biggest amount he has paid you?
Different nights out and hotels, etc. I can't recall the exact biggest present he's ever given me. Every jockey in the country, numbering 300 or 400, has the same and probably does the same.
And how you get your back scratched is apparently nights out at expensive nightclubs.
Yes.
All the drinks paid for, all the meals paid for, all the rest of it paid for by Brian Brendan Wright.
Yes.
Envelopes handed over in cash if you'd given him a good tip.
Occasionally.
How much information were you giving him in the 1990s?
Lots.
Challenging on the near side. Brigon lands over it. Captain John second, then Wayward.
Graham Bradley is widely regarded as one of the best horsemen of his generation, recording this the most famous win of his career at Cheltenham.
Being pressed now by Captain John. Brigon striding up to the line to win it. Brigon wins the Gold Cup. Second is Captain again. History is made with the 1983 Cheltenham Gold Cup is number 2. Brigon, ridden by Graham Bradley. Second is number 4.
Now retired as a jockey, Graham Bradley remains one of the sport's leading personalities. He's a bloodstock agent and an occasional TV pundit. He's also still close to the man he used to fix races for.
Brad's alone to himself, I suppose. Best pals with Brian Wright. He did very well out of it. Many times, you know, Brian Wright would be on the phone to me about a certain race. I said, no, I'd rather go with Brad's horse. Go with Brad's today. I said, okay, fine. So I was stopping my horse so that he could back Brad's to win. Things like that. And vice versa, you know, and I get phone calls from Brad and other jockeys like Brad that we were riding at the time saying, have you been on the phone to Uncle? That's what they called him, or Brian. I said, yeah. And I said, you know, so I'm going to go with mine or whatever. I said, fine. That's the way it worked.
Graham Bradley has declined to be interviewed, but we caught up with him at a charity event in Newbury.
Mr. Bradley, Andy Davies, Panorama.
Andy Davies.
That's right. I wanted to ask you, for how long were you being paid off by Brian Wright?
How long I was being paid off by Brian? That's a silly, awful question.
Well, you admitted that in court. You said that you were receiving a lot of money from Brian Wright for giving him privileged information. That's true, isn't it?
What I said in court, I don't retract because I wouldn't want to perjure myself, but it was a very broad spectrum, the answers that I gave to that court.
You were selling privileged information to Brian Wright?
I wasn't selling privileged information.
That's exactly what you admitted in court.
I promise you, I never. If you read the transcript...
I've got the transcript here.
It was a very...
I've got the transcript here. When were you riding? Did they ring you regularly? Yes, they did. Let us be clear, it's not only Barry Wright who's providing information to Brian Wright and his team. You were as well, were you not? Yes, you replied. The sort of information which, let us also be quite clear, the average punter would probably give his eye teeth for. Yes, very privileged information, you replied. That's the transcript.
It's a very, very broad synopsis.
One former jockey told us that the two of you were fixing races for Brian Wright.
Hang on a second. The answer I gave to that was very broad, and it was about the horses I rode for him. He was an owner, so I'm allowed to give him that sort of information.
That's a lie. You've just said in this transcript that it was privileged racing information, and you know it.
What's privileged racing information?
Can I tell you what one former jockey said to us?
Who's this former jockey?
You'll find out in the programme. He said that the two of you...
Is he a reliable source? Is he a reliable source? Or is he a lunatic nutcase? Because if it's the lunatic nutcase I'm thinking about...
Would you like to hear what he said? He said the two of you were fixing races for Brian Wright.
If it's the chap that I think I am, he's an absolute lunatic, multiple liar.
How many other jockeys were being bribed by Brian Wright?
What are you doing here, actually? You haven't got permission from the racecourse to film here.
Sorry, who are you? That's right.
Yeah. I'm sorry, if you courtesy to have asked the racecourse first.
You handled that well. I couldn't save you. I but you did the right thing. I know.
He's got to get weighed in.
Taking on the jockeys who got too close to criminals became a priority for Roger Buffham. He was a specialist in intelligence gathering. He set up CCTV cameras on every racecourse. He brought in new racing intelligence officers from CID and recruited a new network of informants. Pretty soon he knew exactly what jockeys like Bradley were doing, but he had a problem. No matter how accurate the intelligence, the club needed almost criminal standards of proof to take action. So in 1996 he brought in a new rule. The fit and proper persons rule. It gave the Jockey Club the power to take away licenses from jockeys or trainers whose behaviour they didn't consider fit and proper. A powerful weapon, but would the Jockey Club use it?
I presented a number of reports on Graham Bradley on at least 3 occasions, where it was quite clear to me, from the reaction I got from the Jockey Club and from legal advice, that there wasn't sufficient resolve and robustness to want to deal with the problem.
Why didn't you proceed against him under the fit and proper persons rule?
Again, there is no way, in my opinion, the Jockey Club wanted to deal with Graham Bradley. I certainly suggested that is the way forward. There is no resolve to deal with Graham Bradley.
Why did you allow Graham Bradley to continue riding?
I'm afraid I'm unable to answer any questions about the Graham Bradley situation. Graham Bradley is one of the 7 people against whom we've instituted proceedings following the lifting of reporting restrictions on the series of connected right trials.
The Jockey Club has announced that next month Graham Bradley will at last face a disciplinary hearing. Until then, he continues to play an active role in the sport.
How many people have lost their licences under the fit and proper persons rule since it was introduced in 1996?
1, I think.
That's very surprising, isn't it?
Well, I don't know whether it's surprising or not. It's the fact. One person has lost their licence under the fit and proper rule.